Merdeka Award Roundtable is brought to you by the Merdeka Award, fostering a culture of excellence.
Digital is no longer just part of the economy, it is the economy. It has presented limitless opportunities for some and disruption for others. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, what is Malaysia's future in this digital economy? Now, I'd like to kickstart this discussion by asking if you think that we are digital ready, because technology has removed traditional rules, traditional barriers, and thus intensifying competition. And the fact is, we are now truly competing in the global stage. Now, I'd like to start with Karamjit. Are we embracing digital fast enough?
Fast enough? No, we're not. But we are embracing digital. There are different speeds for different companies and different organizations. But we are embracing digital because it's all around us, right? Like you said, digital is already here. You know, and soon the word digital will disappear because it's just going to be the economy. You know, nobody ever spoke about, you know, the power economy or the coal economy, right? But to answer your question, we're not moving fast enough, and that's a concern because we want to be winners, right? In this space, I think you're going to be in the top 20 countries in the world, you know, as digital nations. Then you're going to enjoy the benefits.
Perhaps, Dr. Kaur, what are your thoughts about embracing digitization, especially in the academic sector?
In order to embrace digitization, we need to look at it from two perspectives, which is making sure that our society is ready in terms of knowledge and habits. So what we're doing today is we are putting a lot of focus on knowledge itself, making sure they know about, for example, IoT, Internet of Things, making sure they know about what are the topics in Industry 4.0. But the question that we really need to think about is whether we are instilling the right habits, the right thinking skills, we are giving them critical thinking skills, or being innovative enough so that they have the right habits to embrace this digital economy as it comes along.
So does this difficulty lies in changing the mindset, the culture, or is it the lack of infrastructure for now?
I think the government has done tremendous work, even in the private sector for Telecom Malaysia, for example, in the infrastructure side. But I think if you look at digital per se, we look at it in four ways. Adoption for digital in terms of the strategy planning, when you also make the product, when you sell the product, and then when you manage the product. Most Malaysian companies is focusing on the selling process of digital. But the true culture really resides at the back. So do you really manage your company via digital? Do you think digital? Do you produce digitally? And if you think about when we looked at 28 Malaysian companies across 117 KPIs on digital, including things like, does your CEO appear on LinkedIn or social media, for example? We found that when the score 1 to 4, we found that US, for example, the United States, score is 2.5. Malaysia is at 1.7. So that's the gap, and that's real, and we know where the gaps are. It's culture primarily. I don't think it's infrastructure. It's how we think and how we execute.
All right. I would get to Azrina. You do go on the ground, you meet a lot of people who are embracing technology. And what are some of the biggest challenges for you?
Every time when I came in with try to advocate digital, it's like, oh no, the only smart thing that I have is my phone, you know. So, but it's actually what we do every day. We need to embrace it. Like Karamjit mentioned, it's okay if it's slow, but as long as you embrace it. You know, take that baby step. For example, get your online shopping.
Speaking about e-commerce, we see many big giants like Alibaba coming into this region, Amazon very recently as well, so in order not to lose that important market share here. And looking at Malaysian companies, especially SMEs, because they make up close to 99% of the economy, still very big portion. And what we hear about SMEs is that they're not adopting fast enough. What are the challenges for them?
I think the challenges for Malaysian SMEs are the same in the region. In fact, Singapore also is worried about its SMEs not adopting fast enough. And their mentality is that if you don't adopt it and be the disruptor, you're going to be disrupted. So it's the same mantra here, except that our SMEs are comfortable still. You know, they're still making money in the traditional way. They are transitioning, but slowly. They don't see anyone of their peers, you know, losing their business or going bankrupt. So their complacency that business is still going on for them without adopting digital. But because digital will hit you very fast if you don't adapt, and we need to just get them moving.
The problem with Malaysians is they like a buzzword and they attack it. We talk about sharing economy. Actually, what's that? Actually, there's 4 types of economies. Now, there's a sharing economy. There is the personalization economy. There's the replenishment economy, meaning if your fridge runs out of apples, it order apples for you. And there's the services. So if you talk about sharing, sharing is literally people don't want to own, they want to rent. So you talk about Airbnb, Grab, Uber and stuff like that. And then we talk about the services economy. You know, that's why, we have lots and lots of startups that does stuff for other people. Because, we started in Malaysia, we have this concept of runner. So we love that kind of stuff. So you got plenty of those stuff. But when we talk about SMEs, we're going to make sure that they understand that it's not just the K economy. I mean, that's a buzzword that's been abused, I think.
Also to recognize the fact that the idea of a middleman, it will be completely disenfranchised soon. So productivity, efficiency is the name of the game. And the question is, how do you help these businesses who are still rooted in manufacturing 2.0?
When we talk about literacy, we talk about being able to read and write, but that's no longer enough today. You need technological literacy. So that's why I think we are not moving fast enough in terms of getting enough of our students going into the science stream. Well, obviously, you don't need to study engineering to be technologically literate. You look at Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they're not, they do not have degrees in engineering, but they are technologically literate. Since as long as we end up with a group of people in the society who's technologically literate, when they face a problem in their SME or their companies, they will be able to come up with ideas on how to use technology to approach this.
We need to find the best quick win entry points, because it's very tailored. You see, when you mention inclusivity, so that doesn't mean whatever applied to the decision maker level and people who stay in the city is the same if I go somewhere in Kuala Langat. See, so here is a set of people, a population with a certain demographic that has a very low digital adoption, but what makes them easier to understand what is digital adoption? For example, I'm like, okay, now if you want to go find a parking lot, there's an app. Easy. So that is something that they use every day. You cannot talk to them about programming because they don't do programming every day, but they do park their car every day. They shop online every day. So that, and then what's next?
I think that the current way of studying is a relic that is based on Industrial Revolution 1 and 2.0. We still do this same way of teaching where the world is changing every day. So we need to really rethink of how we teach our young today. And it's very different from, I think, of traditional way of teaching today.
Hang on to that point, because that's what we're going to discuss in the next segment. But for now, we'll go for a short commercial break. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. This is the Merdeka Award Roundtable on the topic of digital economy. Now, there are many initiatives undertaken by the government, and they recognize that talent is a very crucial point in adopting Industry 4.0. But are we transforming our education, our mindset among students fast enough, even among our educators? Now, I'd like to get to Dr. Kaur. Being in an academic institution, we often have this perception that they're more resistant to change, or at least fast to change in adopting something new like digital.
Yes. So I started my career in industry. So when I moved into academia, I do see the difference between the mindset in industry and the mindset in academia. And we're simply not moving fast enough in academia in certain areas. Azwan brought up a very good point, which is the way we teach, a lot of it is still based based on the previous mindset, more suitable for the previous economy. But it's changing right now. So we are starting to realize that students coming to class, they don't really need all the knowledge from the lectures, because with YouTubes, with internet, they can get all the information, the data they want. So what's really important is teaching them the right mindset, having the right people, exposing them to the habits, critical thinking, innovation, and some of the other types of thinking, problem solving.
Yeah.
So a lot of universities, University of Nottingham, for example, and a lot of the other universities as well, they're trying to adopt a new way of teaching, incorporating much more hands-on, much more exposure to industry, and instead of just solving problems from the textbook, we want to go into the industry and solve problems that's real problems in the industry.
Karamjit, as an industry observer, do you feel that there is enough initiatives to bring everyone on board in terms of education?
Academics will say, and teachers at the tertiary level or secondary primary school will say there's too many initiatives going on, and they get confused. But yeah, but I think one thing we have to remember is we're talking about, maybe we need to change the way we're teaching or what, because, Intel has got a big facility in Penang, and for 3 years in a row, once I would go up there and interview Craig Barrett, because the chairman, that time is the CEO of Intel, he would come down, and I think in the third year, I asked him, what does Malaysia have to get right in terms of its education, and he smiled and he said, just make sure that because Intel is engineering, right? So he said, just make sure that your engineers come out with a sound grasp of the fundamentals, We do not need them to come out and be, industry ready. Just make sure that they understand the fundamentals of whether it's electronical engineering, chemical engineering. You get that foundation right, we will take them in, and 6 months after they come in, they're ready to run with us, And that's all you need to do, because without the foundation, then they can't do anything. Okay. And no student who comes out, right, in the world, you're talking about jobs changing, who has a sound foundation in programming, in the sciences, in math, in engineering, none of them will be out of a job, no matter what happens, how the jobs change. But the world is leaning towards the sciences, especially in the digital economy. So and the higher paying jobs are going to be there.
Okay, so Malaysia has somewhat kickstart this initiative to introduce computational thinking and science in the national curriculum. But technology changes in a fortnight. So, keep having that curriculum to keep up with this fast-paced, changing technology. That is something else altogether.
I don't think knowledge is everywhere on the internet.
Yes.
Everybody has access to it. The way they're absorbing new information is on a daily basis, not in classrooms, right? I have a different view of life. If you think about all the new startups, everybody's excited about all this startup stuff, right? Everybody thinks they're going to be a millionaire, maybe one in a gazillion will, right? Unicorn, right? Looking for unicorns, right? Is that, so when you have that, it's really less about technology, but more about business models, and business models requires you to be creative. Yeah. Creative requires human imagination. Imagination is personal. Creativity should be taught. How to think outside the box all the time. So that is something. Very correct.
Early level.
So it doesn't matter what. It's not about coding. Coding changes every year, right? So that is a constant change. But creativity is forever.
Coding itself is just a means to an end. I still like the idea of teaching computational skills at school, because what we really want is not the coding itself. It's actually the mindset, because in order to code properly, in order to survive in a digital economy, you need to think in a certain way, and that doesn't come naturally for everyone.
Sure, right.
So that is the skill that we want to teach: the mindset, the teaching, the thinking habits.
So that's the education part. What about the current workforce that we have? Clearly, a lot of us, including myself, I'm not really ready for the digital economy in the sense I don't have the technical skills. We are consuming more than we are producing. Right. So just quickly, your thoughts about how companies are adapting, helping to upskill talents, because yes, we have the up and coming workforce, but what about the rest of us? Will be left behind? Your thoughts, Karamjit?
I think when you say companies upskill, companies will upskill or they will skill their staff on their immediate needs, And right now, everyone's looking to bring in revenue next quarter or, meet your numbers this year. Very few look, 2-year time frame and say we need to do that. You just hope that they're moving fast enough, right? Because training is a big business in Malaysia, right? Multi-billion ringgit. So lots of companies do train their staff. But they only train them in the areas they need to.
What industries which are most agile in adopting change?
Agile, those are the tech industries, telco industries. Like, you know, one of the largest GLCs now is actually mandating that all their staff are digitally trained. So it's already starting with some of them, and maybe the leaders are those which are at the forefront of digital disruption, right? Your retail companies are not. They are being disrupted, but they are not being, you know, their staff, or they're not doing enough in the digital space yet. So why? I don't know. Maybe because it's only 5% of retail in Malaysia is still online, so still 95% walk-in. And so they don't see that yet, and they think they got time to adapt.
Electricity disrupted industry for 100 years. Digital will do the same.
Thanks for wrapping that up nicely for my second block, because I have to go for the last commercial break, but we'll be back shortly to pick up on that point from Azwan. In this last segment of the Merdeka Awards Roundtable, I'd like to talk about digital inclusivity, because while we talk about big flashy words like Industry 4.0, data economy, it resonates with us sitting here in the Twin Towers with good broadband penetration. But then how do we get the 40% of Malaysia on board as well? Because there is still a big rural-urban digital divide. Karamjit.
I think that divide is getting smaller now. You look at what's going on with smartphone penetration. Very simple criteria. You look at all the telcos, they're almost reporting 7 out of 10 of their customers now have smartphones. The barrier now to adopting digital is getting lower and lower, and the speed of it is important, and also the speed in terms of users adopting it, and the realization that this is actually a tool. It can be it's not just a social tool via WhatsApp, you share videos and all that. It can be an economic tool also. And I think once you're already using it via social, people will realize it's also an economic tool. And I think the mindset is changing because the adoption is increasing. You cannot legislate or say we have to change the mindset. Mindset comes from using it, right? And more and more of us are using it. You've got people who are above 70 also using smartphones, right? Of course, there are a fair amount who are not, but the fact that people above 70 have started using smartphones and they're on Skype with their loved one, using FaceTime or whatever, I think the adoption is moving up. Maybe as a nation in a hurry, it's not fast enough for people like us, but it is moving.
Collaboration is the key. In order to get everyone as a nation to adopt, you have a lot of players and stakeholders here, like academics. What's your role in having all this campaign penetrated and tailored to the social level of society? And then we have industry players, the private sector. For example, that I think Post Malaysia has Progress Smart Postman working with MCMC. So we need more private sectors, private companies to work with the government agency and to how to solve and how to close the gap.
And what are some of the areas do you think we may be lacking in the sense of inclusivity?
So I think we cannot mandate inclusivity. We can give people a reason to pick up this the digital trend. So I think we talk about in Malaysia we have a lot of consumers of digital gadgets, but we do not have enough producers. But it comes hand in hand. If you have enough consumers, then they will create a reason for people to produce something that then the consumers will take up. So it's a supply and demand thing. But what's more important is we need to make sure that with technological literacy, we need to make sure that the society or certain sectors in society, they can look at the problems that we have today and then create a technological solution for it. And then these people will start to adopt it. Because once you have the solution, it's like people didn't really use technology to get a taxi. They do it all the time right now.
That's the beautiful thing with digital being so pervasive and in the palm of your hand, people are already thinking of how to solve problems. I think that is the amazing thing I've seen as a technology journalist. I think in the last 3 years, everyone and anyone, thinks that they can solve a problem using digital as the platform. It's beautiful. The Grab that I took over, I didn't ask the young man, but it's like in his 20s, and he said, do you think, when he found out I was a technology journalist, he pitched an idea to me, do you think this platform would work? Would people put up their videos so that media companies will pay for the exclusive video, video your content? And I said, maybe, you don't want to be discouraging. He said, is anyone doing it before? And right now, he said, yes, in the UK, someone's doing it. So I said, okay, great, you've got a model already. You can adapt it here and see whether you can get the media companies to be buyers of your platform, right? Just in one ride today, right, somebody's got an idea. And I see this all the time. So nobody says in this digital, you need a doctorate from Nottingham, or you need to go to Harvard, or you need to go to Stanford. No. Exciting times. I see more positives than negatives, right? Collaboration is happening, just the speed, because we're in a race with other countries. We're not in the race with the top 100 companies. I think we're in the race with the top 50 countries in the world, because we want to be in the top 20. Yeah. Then we'll be a digital winner.
There is the concept of tipping point or exponential organizations. I think we are nearing a tipping point. And we think about adoption, there are three industries that are driving the way. First is financial services, second is media, third is telecommunications. These three are the ones driving it. And then once everybody starts getting on board onto the economic or digital platforms, then off you go. I think we're just that bit.
Okay, so this brings to my next question, because every country is doing the same.
Yes, exactly.
We want to move up the value chain in terms of digital economy. Right. So looking at this region, tremendous opportunity, 625 million population, big companies coming in, Western companies.
Yeah.
Where can Malaysia stand on? What are our USP, unique selling point?
I think it's our companies, not where is Malaysia, because your companies in various verticals, it's dependent on those companies, right, to find the niches, right, and to compete, because we already got regional companies, right? We've got banks which are regional. Now, what do you do to safeguard your business and to strengthen it? And digital is a key pillar of that strategy. I think they're all adapting. I don't think there is a niche for Malaysian digital economy. You cannot create a niche. So we've got agriculture, is a big part of the ecosystem, right? A lot of people, there's a still big traditional component there, and that's been our niche for a long time. And people will still need palm oil, right? Ingredients from coconut or whatever.
And getting that industries to adopt Industry 4.0.
They will, yeah. Whether it's 4.0 or even 3.0, they can adapt, and you can digitize certain processes, and all work processes can be digitized to make them more productive, and that's good for those companies. Yes?
Well, you just have to ask Jack Ma why he came to Malaysia, right? You should know. But my point is, I think MDEC has done a tremendous job.
Yes.
With MIDA even to try to bring companies across.
Yep.
So then you have Magic that creates a community of startups. Yep. And then you have CyberView, who's trying to host them as a physical location, and Cyberjaya as a test bed for IoT and stuff like that.
All the elements.
So we look at all the elements and the fact that we've got a young population, I think that's all the right ingredients. So if I summarize it, Malaysia Truly Asia really works for us, not just in tourism, but also in tech.
But thank you so much for your insights. It's been truly very valuable, and thank you so much for watching. This has been a Merdeka Award Roundtable. We are also online, so do check us out on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cynthia, and we'll see you soon.